Only last night, I have been writing to my Indian counterpart when I observed significant fluctuations in the flows of Chenab yet again for the fourth time since last year, April 2025. That is not a technical inconvenience. It is a strategic hazard. Flood for windows shrink, irrigation scheduling becomes uncertain at the sowing stage particularly, barrage and reservoir operations lose the predictive confidence, technical verification is displaced by strategic doubt. Therefore, there is no brainer in understanding that the data sharing is the line between the natural risk and the manufactured vulnerability. Next, please. As I just discussed about the manipulations of the flows of Chenab at Marala, so the Chenab episodes required answers. I will state this carefully and without overclaiming causation. These events required explanation and operational data, and we have been asking to India. Pakistan asked for that through the treaty channels, and ladies and gentlemen, there is no response from the Indian side, and the non-response creates the risk. When flows at Marala move from a peak of 78,000 cusick to only 1,500 cusick in May 2025, when December 2025 shows a movement from 58,000 cusick down to 870 cusick, and when May 2026 records a sharp fall within the event window, no responsible downstream commissioner can treat that as a routine and move on. These are precisely the events the Commission exists to examine, with data, inspection, and consultation. Next, please. Now, I would like to show you a pattern that how the pattern matters. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue is not hydropower for Pakistan. The issue is basically accumulated upstream control without the treaty discipline. The discipline which has been enshrined into the treaty as its fundamental core. You can see on the map, all the red boxes are the ones which have put now the western rivers and particularly the Chenab under stress. Starting from Marala barrage upstream, you can see that India has started reopening of its low-level outlets, and what would happen in simple terms, that by way of so doing, so India will have a control by way of, emptying the reservoir and refilling, and then basically repeating these, manipulations just to the detriment of Pakistan, which is, by the way, only 70 kilometers downstream of Salal. And the story does not stop. This basically leads to a pattern where India is going to construct its Sawalkot hydropower. The Ratle is, presently under construction. Similarly, 1,000 megawatt Pakaldol is under construction. Kiru and Kawar are with the same status. And now India has started to develop the Chenab-Beas link, so which has a potential to divert the water of 1.9 million acre feet. So as I have been trying to articulate that the major issue, the core issue is basically accumulated upstream control without the treaty discipline. One project may be a question in terms of the Article 9, but a cluster of accelerated works with no data, no inspection, and no commission engagement, that becomes a strategic pattern. No more a question. So I have already explained briefly that, what is going to happen with these projects. So Pakistan say yes to only lawful runoff river generation, but Pakistan, of course, says no to the unlawful control, diversion, opacity, and the failure to comply. Next, please. So coming to close my presentation, I would like to say something briefly about the diversion and the control. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the two issues which require a particular attention because they go to the character of the bargain. First, the reported Chenab-Beas link. Pakistan's legal position is very clear. and that stems out from the article which governs the three western rivers and contains as such no freestanding category of the surplus western river waters available for diversion by India into an eastern river basin. Diversion changes the character of the bargain. The bargain, which is, at the core of the treaty, through which Pakistan agreed to forego and surrender its rights of the three eastern rivers. Second is the Salal, as I explained. And ladies and gentlemen, so there has been a bilateral agreement signed by the then, Indian Minister for External Affairs back in the year 1978, Mr. A.B. Vajpayee, and from Pakistan's side, it was signed by Pakistan's Foreign Minister Agha Shahi. That agreement required the outlet works to be permanently plugged, and those were plugged. Now, if removal is claimed to be necessary for a safety emergency, the agreement requires, immediate information, consultation, and site inspection. Alterations, essentially require the mutual agreement, and reopening low-level outlets changes the control, as I explained, posture of a project governed by a specific bilateral agreement. So the Commission must examine both before facts are created on the ground. But these facts are going to be created on ground, whereas there are no consultations. Next, please. Now, coming to the international record, Pakistan is not responding only through the speeches. Pakistan has used the international system responsibly. The Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister briefed the diplomatic corps and wrote to the President of the Security Council, the President of the General Assembly, and the Secretary General. And Pakistan's permanent representative to the UN transmitted the record to the Security Council and the India-Pakistan question, under the India-Pakistan question. And ladies and gentlemen, very importantly, to the vindication of Pakistan's position, UN Special Procedures mandate holders in October 2025 have publicly recognized serious human rights concerns comprising the water, food, livelihood, environment, and the development. So we are taking the matter to the world not a quarrel, but to prevent a treaty breakdown from becoming a security crisis. Water is life and it cannot be weaponized. Next, please.